Good day, my name is Evgenia Kelly. I'm a commercial lines underwriter with Graham Rogers. You can contact me, Amber Brown, or Meredith Cole for any garage risk that you have, be it a dealer or repair service. Today I'm going to show you our quick quote form so that you can obtain terms without having to complete a full garage application until you actually sell the account, which makes it a little bit easier to do business. Let's start with the insured's name that we'll need to complete setting up the file. I'm gonna put in Jane Kelly. And if your insured is doing business as corporation or LLC, we do not need the individual's name. But if they have a business name, that is a good idea to show it here. Used auto sales. As a reminder, we only have markets for dealers who sell used cars, not new ones. And then we're gonna move into location. Let's put in 100 Main Street, Dewey, Oklahoma. I moved a little too fast here. Oklahoma. And then 74029. Please be advised that zip code is essential to the rating, and changes in zip code may result in changes in premium. It can go higher or lower. Then we're going to see that we can either own or rent this building. We're just going to say that I'm a tenant in it. Please be advised if there are any losses or violations. Please contact me, Amber or Meredith Cole, whoever is working with you on this account, as this account might not be eligible for quick quoting and we'll have to submit full applications with details on the loss to the carrier for prior approval. If insured works on anything else but trailers and used private passenger autos, the same rule applies. It is always good to give us a call prior to submitting this quick quote sheet. That way you don't spend time filling it out and then us requesting you to provide a full form. Later on, we're moving to the section the sale does insured, which lists a couple of questions that will help us determine if the account needs a little more work, if it needs a prior approval. It doesn't necessarily mean that the insured will not be eligible for quoting, but it will give us an idea on prior to buying items. So let's start filling it out. Does insured own, repair, service, or sponsor race cars? I'm going to mark it as a no. Sell, rebuild, or repair autos with a salvage title. I'm also going to mark it as a no. Have weapons on premise or on person. I'm going to mark it as a no. Please be advised that it's not an automatic decline, but our carriers do exclude that type of exposure. Perform repossession operations. I can tell you right now that none of our carriers actually are willing to provide coverages for risks that perform that operation, or they will specifically exclude it on their forms. We're going to mark it as a no. Park autos on public streets. We're going to say no. Engage in auto or title pawning is going to be a no for me. Engage in towing for hire is going to be a no. Have animals on premise. We're going to say no. And loan, lease, or rent autos to others. I'm also going to mark this one no. So we're going to be moving to dealers operations section, which would give me more detailed information about how the operation is set up. I'm going to mark this risk as 100% retail. It can also be a consignment, export, import. Insured might be selling autos only to other dealers or businesses, which will make him a wholesale dealer, and we will rate it accordingly. Is this an auction? I'm going to mark it as no. Do you sell over the internet? So when we're going to that question, it's very important to remember that advertising over the internet is okay with our carriers, but if insured offers sight unseen sales, account might not be eligible for the quoting. So I'm going to mark advertising only and move on. Do you offer buy here, pay here sales? I'm going to mark it as a no, but don't be discouraged if the answer is yes. I'll just need a little more information written down below. If yes, or if you export vehicles, when are the titles transferred into buyer's name? I'll need the answer in this section. And are you listed as a lien holder in the title? I'll need a yes or a no answer on this one as well. Let's move on to the next question. Do salespeople accompany customers on all test drives? I'm going to mark it as a yes. And if it's a no, please give me a little bit of a description of why it is a no. Are there any other precautions? Maybe the dealer is taking driver's licenses. Let's move on. Do you allow extended or overnight test drives? I'm going to say no. Then we're going to ask you a question about how does insured transport their autos. Do they own a tow truck or a car hauler? Do they own a tow bar or a dolly? Or maybe they're contacting a contract driver, a person that they are familiar with, know, and trust their driving record to transport the autos for them. All of that information will be important to our rating. So we're going to be moving on to question number of dealer plates, and I'm going to mark it as 2. And then please describe law protection. The law protection by our carriers is defined as fully fenced, gated, closed. If that is not the case and insured doesn't have necessary protections in line, we can also offer a theft buyback coverage if after hours lighting are present and there have been no theft losses on this account, but it will be something that we'll have to work on later. Cars can also be stored inside the building. Please feel free to put it in the description section. Then we're going to be moving on to our people section right here. This is very important section, and please do not skip it, as our rating is based on number of employees and their job descriptions as well. So let's put my name, Jane Kelly, right here in the first section. And location 1. If there are multiple locations associated with the risk, please feel free to mention that in the email with the full description of location addresses, and I will take care of this account for you, or one of my colleagues. Then I'm going to mention my age, the status, which would basically mean the occupation of this particular employee or owner. In my case, it's going to be an owner, and hours worked. Down below, you're going to see the definition of what is considered a full-time, a part-time, or a non-employee. So we're going to say that I work 40 hours a week, so it's going to be full-time for me. Then there's a question of whether you want this employee or owner to be listed as a furnished driver, meaning that they can take car from the lot and drive as their personal vehicle. I'm going to mark it as a no. And then after I am going through my employee list, if you ever marked temporary or contract driver as a mean of transportation of autos, please do not forget to list a contract driver. You might not have all the information on them, but it is important to our rating. So I'm going to put in contract driver here, and he is going to be associated with one location just because I only have one in this imaginary risk. Let's say he is 30 years old as I am. He is a contract driver, and he works from time to time, but he's not really an employee, so we're going to mark it as non-employee. And if he needs to be listed or furnished, yes or no, we're going to mark it as a no answer. So that was pretty easy. Let's move on to the coverage desired. So here we have an option for liability, physical damage coverage, which covers physical damage on cars that are on the lot. Let's move here and mark liability, physical damage. Uninsured motorist coverage offers bodily injury coverage when in an accident with an underinsured motorist, so we're going to mark it as a yes. And medical payments coverage is a coverage designated to cover slips and falls types of losses. Maximum available limit on this particular option is 5,000, so I'm just going to mark it as 5. And down below, circle one of the options if it's just on autos, if it's just for premise, or both. I'm going to say both. So on the liability section, let's say that I would like to have 1 million and 2 million limits. You can see here that if you just mark it as an X and see by how much you want it multiplied. For example, I want 1 million, 2 million, so I'm going to put in multiply by 2, which gives me an idea that you would like 1 million, 2 million limits. If I leave it at multiply by 1, I will be able to offer you quote was 1 million, 1 million limits on this account. Physical damage coverage. Please be advised that there is a 100% coinsurance clause on this type of a coverage. So if during inspection the carrier will see that there are more cars on the lot than originally presented, or the lot might be underinsured, will be forced to endorse the account, and in case of a loss, the account will be adjusted accordingly as well, which might result in coinsurance penalty. We want to avoid that, so it's always good to have the conversation with your insured prior to offering us that information. So let's say that it's a very small lot and we only have 6 cars in a lot at any one time, and maximum value on the car is $10,000. To be on the safe side, I'm going to say that it is 60,000 per location. 6 by 10,000, so we get 60, and then we have a 10,000 maximum limit per vehicle. Moving on to uninsured motorist coverage, depending on the state, there might be split limits, but we are saying that we're in Oklahoma, so we're going to have a combined single limit, and I'm going to ask for $60,000 in coverage. So that is pretty much it. Our quick quote sheet is completed. If property coverage is desired, please also attach Accords 140. With some of the carriers, we are able to package property coverages under one quote. With some, we're not. But if we have Accords, we'll be able to place this risk for you successfully. Thank you very much. And if you need any further assistance, please feel free to call me, Amber Brown, or Meredith Cole.